With 22 riders, this was the largest 65 plus field I've ever been in, and everyone had good form. There were still 5 other 65 pluses that raced down into the 60 plus category. As the racing demographic, we are getting older. Hey, cycling community, this is Steve, Grusis the Cycling Greek. I just checked the results to get some names and numbers, and 19 showed up of the 22 that I signed up. Still, biggest field I've been in of 65 pluses. Okay, so let's talk about those numbers. Of the 19, 7 were from Body Concepts, and they have 2 very strong sprinters in Bob Gorman and Kevin Willits. Kevin is the team captain. What made life easier for me so I didn't have to watch this team as they sent out rider after rider to knock us down was the other strong team that was in this race, Penn Velo. They have a team of 4 where 3 of them are sprinters led by Tim Davis and Steve Clifton. Into the mix of very strong riders is Tom McCullough from Courier Montbay Racing team presented by Don Chapin. You gotta watch out for those guys that are on teams that take a longer than a second to pronounce. He won the Bariani Road race a few weeks back that has a similar profile to this race. Before the race, I was speaking with fellow Central Valley resident Brian Patterson, stating that unless something attempts to get away that has both Penn Velo and Body Concepts in it, I'm not going to worry about it. Just 1.5 miles into the race, and if you look at the graphics at the top, it says we're at 5.1 mile, but that includes about 3 1/3 miles of promenade. This is where Body Concepts' Robert Naparalski takes off. Now, Robert is a TT type of guy, and people know this, so people are quick to react, especially when there's a Penn Velo that gets right on his wheel. Now, again, it's only 1.5 miles into the race, and this is going to be about a 48-mile race, but, weirder things have happened. Body Concepts in the yellow jerseys are starting to slow down at the front, so I'm jumping to go across just in case this thing gets some legs. People are on my wheel, but I figure this is the move I gotta make. There are 2 Body Concepts, 1 Alto Velo, and 1 Penn Velo up there. Once I make the connection, I just sit on wheels. If you look at the graphics on the right, you'll see the temperature is 63 degrees. We started this race at 8:30 in the morning. The high for the day is going to be 95 or 98 degrees, which is not bad compared to the previous couple of days, at least in Fresno, where the highest hit as high as 108 degrees. I make it a point to train in the heat, not only because I live in the Central Valley, California, but because this ultra event that I plan on doing in 2 weeks, the forecasted temperature is 105 degrees. Jumping ahead just a bit, we're now encountering one of the few climbs that are on this course. Now, this course isn't totally flat, and people, when they think of this course, they think of it as being flat. This is the feed zone hill. Now, the key about this hill is that right after it are some very tight S-turns. And at the apex at each of these turns, it's very sandy, so I want to make sure I'm toward the front so I can control my line on the way down. Right now, you may be thinking that we're mixing categories here. We're not. Right in front of me is Christina Davis from Alto Velo. She signed up for the 65 plus. She is not 65 plus, nor does she have to be. I'm not familiar with this part of the rules, but I believe that women can race up in age depending on the age categories that are offered within a particular race. As we're about to go through the S-turns, I'm going to take the opportunity to talk about my leg. About 7 weeks ago, I went for a small run, and I hadn't been running very much. And I went a little faster than maybe I should have, and I tweaked my left glute right where the hamstring starts to connect. Especially because of the pain, I figured I'd done something bad, so then I just walked home. I took it easy for a day or 2, and then I got back on the bike, and I seemed to be okay. So the problem is that I really wasn't okay. Now, when you need to take a rest, I often don't take a rest. I just try to work around the problem so that I'm not totally off the bike or totally off whatever sport that I'm doing just to fix that one part. Often I can just work around it, or I can strengthen the muscles around it, and then everything heals and I'll be fine. The problem in this case was I wasn't fine. We are now heading to the back end climbs, and this is where Robert Naparalski does a second attack. I'm not worried about this because there's not a Penn Velo that's joining him. Now, who is joining him, I believe, is Ken Crawley, but he's an independent. Again, I'm not worried about it. All of a sudden, Matt Peters from Body Concepts goes across, or is attempting to go across, and what's happening is that there's a danger that people can jump onto his wheel and he can pull them up to the group. And so Ken Willits in front of me is calling Matt off. I can see the logic in calling him off, and I probably would have done the same thing, but then when you look at the situation, he's already got the gap. But then when you wait just a little bit, you'll see now a couple of Penn Velos start to go across because they're a little too nervous with 2 Body Concepts out there on the break. Now, if it was only 1 Body Concept, they probably would have let him go for a little while longer. Ken would put in the work, Robert definitely puts in the work. They'd get a little more distance, and then it would cost Penbello a little more energy to bring him back. That is, if the breakaway was in danger of staying away. We are now doing another small jump to the lead-in to the small back-end climb. We have a body concept, this time not Robert, that is taken off with a Penbello. This is the combination I'm looking for, but this is still the first lap, and I can't keep jumping off of everything that I see. So finally someone else does, so I can ride someone else's wheels to to stay connected as they pull me up. This group is easily caught. I don't know why. It could be that they're all thinking, hey, this is only the first lap, so why push it right now? I'm jumping to this point in the race because this is the first time I've gone over this brand new bridge. Before it was really ugly. Bottled water bottles would pop out of your cages, but now it's nice and smooth. It is amazing. Now, this leads into a tough section as we're nearing the end of this first lap. If you look up ahead, you'll see a small climb there. That starts a series of climbs and small rollers that will lead into Blood Alley, and Blood Alley leads into the right turn, which leads into the rolling finish. I sped the video up so you can see the entire section and get a taste for it, as it'll play into the finish of this race. Speaking of roads that need to be redone, this is a section that needs to be redone. This is where I wish I had less air in my tires. I was doing an awful lot of bouncing, and a lot of my momentum was going up instead of forward, which is what I needed, especially in this section. I'm toward the back right now. It's important for me to be toward the front when we make that left turn onto Blood Alley. Reason being because of all the sand there. Blood Alley is a straight road almost 2 miles long, used to be littered with potholes. One year we came to race and it was all nice and black, but seemingly it was only painted. Jumping to the back end climb on the second lap, Robert Naporowski again had put in an attack and actually was out there for quite a while. Again, I wasn't concerned because there wasn't a Penbello with him. Now, I have Steve Davis right in front of me, and I'm concerned that he's going to try to jump across to Naporowski. What he was actually doing was going up to his teammate to give him instructions to pull him back. Just in case those instructions were to actually go with him, I stayed glued to this guy's wheel. Even though Robert's an excellent time trialer and he's got a good gap, his strength is in the flats, not on climbs. So as he gets to the top, you'll see him take a quick look around to assess the situation. He'll then slow down and live to fight another day. What I'm doing in the meantime to stay on this guy's wheel is I am spinning as much as I can. I'm shifting to a bigger gear, bigger cog I should say, in order to keep spinning, keep the pressure off my muscles, and keep it onto my aerobic system. Ordinarily this is all well and good, but because I have that leg problem with my glute and hamstring, it's really the glute in which it's now affecting the hamstring, I've got to be careful about that. And fortunately, it really wasn't talking to me. We got to the back fast flat section. Someone lit it up, and that's that section that leads to that nice now smooth bridge that leads to that small climb there. Now at the top of the climb are cattle pens where I haven't seen cattle for years and years there. Back in the day, this race was run in the late February, early March, and often it'd be raining, and you'd have cattle on both sides of the road there at the top of that climb. And you'd also have, it wasn't even, the road wasn't that even. You'd have water taking the various juices and stomped on solids from one pen and roll across the road to the other pen. And I can remember that we'd finished the race and we were caked in mud, and we thought we were so cool because we looked like those pros that just finished the Paris-Roubaix, and then all of a sudden we'd take an extra sniff and it wasn't all mud. For the next lap, until we get to pretty much the same spot, things were pretty muted. It was here on the back end of the third lap where the action started again. Now you'll notice on the left side that's Robert Naporowski again going on an attack. I don't think too much of it until a Penbello goes out with him, and I think that is Shin Umeda. Now my interest is piqued, but because my right leg, my good leg, has started to do those little cramp type of feelings, I'm being a little more patient and I'm seeing where this is going to go. In spite of that, I'm visually measuring the gap. I'm seeing what the rest of the pack is doing. I'm seeing if the gap is going to grow over 8 seconds, because if it's over 8 seconds, then there's no way I can bridge across. Obviously, Body Concepts nor Penbello is going to go pull these guys back, but I'm thinking about Tom McCullough and some other strong riders that are solos like me, that they may want to start to bring them back. And Tom's a pretty strong guy. He can spend a lot of energy and still have a lot of energy left over for the end of the race. As I was sitting in the pack, metaphorically biting my nails, and watching the gap grow to now well over 8 seconds, I saw something that put my mind at ease. They were lined out doing the pace line thing, or rather Robert was in the front pulling, and then he'd pull off and they'd just ride side by side. After about 5 or 10 seconds, it looked like Robert went to the front again to pull. That told me that Shin had instructions not to work with them, just to sit on his wheel. They wanted this to end in a sprint. Later on, talking with Tim, I confirmed that's what the plan was. We caught these guys about half a lap later. After that, nothing happened in terms of attacks. Both teams were resigned to settle for the sprint. That's what Pinvillo wanted. Without a breakaway working, that's what Body Concepts' backup plan was. And for the rest of us, that's what we had to deal with. We've now jumped to the fourth lap, end of the fourth lap. We're approaching that final climb. All this while, I was trying to think, how can I solve this? I can't sprint. How can I get away from these guys? Not only get away, but get away with the right combination of riders, and not too many of them. I was getting close to jumping, and all of a sudden I was blocked by Velo King's Brian Patterson as he was going past me. Now the speed was starting to pick up, and so that was a good thing. There was an opening on the right, and so this is where I elected to jump. The optimal situation for me is to have a strong Body Concepts rider join me like Matt Peterson. Matt is not a classical sprinter, but he is a strong breakaway rider. It would be great if another rider would join us, as long as it wasn't Pinvillo, because Pinvillo would be sitting on our wheels. I get over the top, I keep rolling to get some distance, and I finally turn around and see that I'm joined by Larry Wolf from Hammer Nutrition. Unfortunately, nobody from Body Concepts. The gap seemed to be around 3 seconds. The hard roller section on those bad roads was coming up. I elected to shut it down. Now the only thing that's left for me to do is to attack on Blood Alley. Now Naporalski's instructions were to light it up with 1K to go, but he elected to light it up with 2 miles to go into Blood Alley. So now I'm just waiting for my time. I'm waiting for him just to slow down a little bit, which he does, and then I start to go, but I don't have a lot to go at this point. I'm literally hoping that everyone else thinks this is a dumbass move that's going to go nowhere, then they're just going to let me go, thinking that I'll burn out. What it may be that they're actually thinking is that, hey, this is a good lead out. At least Tom McCullough may have thought that, because he accelerated, brought the rest of them with him, got on my wheel. Soon thereafter, I turn around to take stock of the situation. I see everyone's on my wheel, and I can hear my right quad talking to me. Any moment now. Any moment now. As I'm putting this video together, I'm seeing that this is the position I should hold, but my heart rate's way up there. I'm pretty tired. My legs again is on the verge of cramping, and so I'm letting more and more people go by. Even though I'm telling you this, I'm looking at this and saying, why didn't I try harder? This could be a lesson for me in a future similar situation. That's one of the many good things about making these videos for me. I get to see my mistakes, and hopefully do better the next time. If I did a better job to keep my position, who knows? I could have finished in the top 10. I hope you enjoyed this video and you got something out of it. My next race is going to be Leesville Gap at the end of June. As always, remember, comment, like, subscribe. The Cycling Greek. Thanks for being out here. Why are we all stopping?
Water under the pop-up.
Oh, that's why we're stopping. Oh. Hoppa! Hoppa, hoppa, hoppa. You almost got me that time. Thanks, Steve.